Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Nathan Daley. I am your law enforcement translator, here to give you guys insight on all things law enforcement in this country. You're looking at a 13-year veteran, ready to share this wisdom. So quick shout out to my new subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the support. Our numbers are growing. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the family. Feel free to make yourself at home. Relax, enjoy the conversations, enjoy the dialogue. We are open, free thinkers. We welcome both sides, all colors, all creeds, all genders. It doesn't matter. Everybody's welcomed here. And there's a reason for that. We're not here to run away from difficult conversations, you guys. We are here to talk about these uncomfortable things, these issues that are impacting our criminal justice system. This is why I'm here. This is why I call myself the translator. I am here to translate these things, give you guys a new insight, a new perspective to help you come to your own conclusions. I'm not here to tell you how to think. I'm here to show you a different outlook, a different perspective, and you come to that conclusion on your own. But we have to be able to talk about it, right? Also, another thing, I am working on this thing that I have going on where I'm saying right all the time. I don't know why I do it. It's weird. I don't know. It might be like a weird psychological nervous thing. So yeah, so please be patient with me on that. I'm consciously trying to make that effort. I don't even know where it came from. You know what it reminds me of? You know when you buy a new car, or you're going in the market to look for a car that you want to buy, and you're like, I want this car because I don't see anybody driving it. And then you buy it and then you see everybody driving it. That's what it feels like. It was a few people pointed it out, and I was like, I'm saying right a lot. And then I'm like, yeah, as I'm editing, it's like boom, boom, boom. So thank you for calling that out. Listen, I don't want to make any bad habits, you guys. I'm new to this, so I'm learning. And if you could see my whole little YouTube studio, you guys would laugh, you know? So thank you for your patience. So I'm also making adjustments. Another reason why I make sure I go through the comment section to catch things that I need to correct. And apparently too, like the head thing, like I'm lifting my head up too much. So I'm trying to adjust the camera. Listen, I don't have a clue what I'm doing, you guys. I'm really just trying to give you information, but I also want this content to be enjoyable. I want it to be digestible, and I want this to be easy to look at, right? I don't want you struggling to like enjoy this image. You know what's so funny? I thought about doing like how other people do. They just kind of talk and they show a bunch of pictures, but I don't know, I thought that was kind of not fun. So this is also helping me step out of that shyness as well. So thank you for your patience. Thank you guys so much for being so supportive. It means a lot. So the purpose of this channel is to really break those barriers and unify people. I think a lot of times we're given so much misinformation, so much disinformation, that we don't really know what to believe. We don't know who to trust. We don't know who can give us an honest approach at some things. And sometimes, again, it's okay for us to disagree, but at least let's disagree with the same facts. At least let's agree with the same facts. So I hope that this is having the impact. I'm hoping and I'm prayerful that we're having a good impact. And this is just the beginning, you guys. The last video I put out in reference to All Lives Matter and Black Lives Matter, as you guys see, if you go through the comment section, there were some people who were very uncomfortable with that statement. There were some people who did not like the position that I took or the argument that I was making. And this is interesting, and I'm glad. We need to have these conversations. There's so much that goes on. Everything is just so deep, you guys. And we're gonna take our time and peel it back. It's like an onion with layers. In this video, we are going to be discussing Daunte Wright, the case. We're going to be talking about the trial. The trial is next week. Jury selection is on the 30th. What is going to happen? What are the issues? What are the facts? How do I feel in reference to an officer on cases like these? Listen, and with that being said, let me cover something real quick before we dive into this subject. A lot of people have been asking me about previous cases, such as Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, Rayshard Brooks. Let's cover those. Well, let me touch on those real quick. When those incidents were taking place, I was still recovering from my injuries. Remember, I had 2 surgeries. I was out the entire year. There was so much going on. The country was going through so much. After my accident, I spent a lot of times just in the bed, watching these things unfold and really asking myself, what can we do different? Where are the answers? Where are the problems? We have real issues. People are angry. People want solutions and they're not getting it. And the people who have been actively fighting to get these solutions haven't been doing a good job. Why? Because they're not really focused on the real issues. This is the problem. And I sat down in the bed for months, coming up with an idea, coming up with a plan. What are the problems? And I really just started to self-reflect on my experience. And this is before I was told I couldn't return to work. But I wanted to come back with a plan. I wanted to come back and say, hey, we got to do better. I don't want our cities to burn. The city of Atlanta burning down because of incidents like this one. So I took this time to self-reflect. I had pages of notes trying to find solutions. What are the real issues? I know them. I know them. So a lot of people are asking, what are my thoughts on the previous cases? I never got a chance to talk about them. I told myself when I started this YouTube channel that I was not going to go back and make videos about previous cases for a couple different reasons. But I'm not going to run from the questions. I'm not going to run from the accusations of, was it justified? Was it not justified? I'm going to tell you the three that I can think of off the top of my head right now. Let's start with, of course, George Floyd. Were the officers justified? No, they weren't. They weren't justified. And their actions that led up to his death, they weren't justified. So if anybody was curious, what's another case? Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor's case, were the officers justified? No, they weren't. They weren't justified. Now, what's interesting with this though is, as you can imagine, my interpretation, my perception, my understanding of the case, I understand the case very, very well. I did a lot of research. I know all the details, and I also know things and understand things that took place that you would not have caught. Why do I say that? That is the reason that really supports why I believe that I won't say believe, why I know that their acts weren't justified. Here's a problem with me saying that. It goes against what a lot of the officers think. Oh well, what you guys will recognize about me, or as you get to know me more, you will learn that I honestly don't care if officers agree or disagree. It's not about that. The idea is that as officers, we serve the people. The truth lies within serving them. I don't serve officers. I serve the community. I serve the people. I serve the citizens. This is where the message has gotten twisted with us as officers. And you guys listen, officers can be emotional too. In this channel, we talk about facts over feelings. What does it look like when an officer is in his feelings before the facts? It doesn't look good. And what happens is in these cases, officers take them so personal that they start to agree with things that are wrong simply because they're in their feelings. Those officers, the way they executed that search warrant was wrong. They violated their own policies. There were a lot of things and issues that went wrong in that situation. You absolutely cannot shoot a person that you cannot see. So my reasons for why I believe it's not justified might not even be the reasons why you think. I'm talking based on training, I'm talking based on knowledge, expertise, policy. These are things, law. These are things that I'm looking at to say, okay, no. That's not okay. The moment you pull the trigger, you need to be able to identify the threat. If you can't identify the threat, You're in the wrong. You're in the wrong. And it's not a shot against police officers. It's a shot against training, behavior, decision making. That's the reality of it. You can't shoot at a target that you cannot see. That's the name of the game. How they pulled it off, that's for a whole nother video. But I feel like it's important for me to tell you that so that you understand how I judge officers, what I look at, the things that I criticize. This is why this is important that we have this relationship, because I can give you insight. And that's what it's all about. Let me translate these situations for you. And then I'm asking you to trust the translation. I'm going to give it to you, but trust it. Trust it. And then with the information I give you, come to your own conclusion. Breonna Taylor, not justified. Or why would they work so hard to try to cover it up? So what's another case? Rayshard Brooks. This happened in Atlanta. This is the incident by the Wendy's. The DUI, fought with the officer, took the officer's taser, shot the officer. That was justified. That was justified. Again, we're not making a moral argument, because a lot of the arguments made in that case was based on morals, not based on law, not based on policy. The officer acted within law. He acted within policy. You don't have to agree with it, but you have to understand it. Why? You have to understand the laws that govern you. You have to. As they say, ignorance to the law is no excuse. There's so much truth in that. This is not about a moral argument. I get it. We can make one. Oh, and the officer got his job back. But you probably didn't hear about that. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. It's deeper than what you think. There was a lot of things that happen. Officers are filing lawsuits against the department because they were wrongfully terminated. They were terminated without just investigation. They were never investigated. And they never violated policy. So some of these guys are suing their own department. So some might add, hey, how is that possible? Again, moral argument. What does the law say? We are governed by these laws. What does the law say? He was justified. He was 100% justified. And he got caught up into a political propaganda campaign. I wanted to say all that before we got into this video so you know where my mind is at. Don't have an issue calling it. Again, Breonna Taylor, not justified. Rayshard Brooks, justified. What are we looking at? We're looking at the case. We're looking at the evidence. We're not looking at the feelings. A lot of these things don't feel good to watch. None of it does. But you guys, this is the job. This is the job that I did. This is the job. You won't understand it until you do it. And I'm telling you, you don't know what it's like to have someone to try to take your life. I can ask you guys right now, anyone in the comment section put, has anyone ever tried to take your life? And how many times? Has anyone tried to shoot you before? Has anyone ever tried to stab you before? Do you know what it feels like? You see what I'm saying? It gets deep, you guys. It's not that simple, this job. There's nothing simple about this job. Daunte Wright. What happened? The facts. The propaganda. We got to talk about it. What happened? The officers doing a traffic stop. The vehicle has an expired tag. They have a legal, justified reason to pull the person over. They pull him over. It's him, Daunte Wright, and his girlfriend in the passenger seat. They go up to him, they say, hey, tag's expired. I need your ID information. He gives it to them. He calls his mom and tells his mom that he's being pulled over by the police. So that they're saying something about the air freshener. He got pulled over because he had too much air fresheners hanging off of the rearview mirror. That's a lie. That's not why he was pulled over. He also told his mom that he got pulled over because the cops said there was no insurance. That's another lie. It wasn't true. It was about his expired tag. They go and run his name. They find out he has a warrant for failure to appear. He was supposed to appear in court for a charge that he had. So, okay, let's go back. Legal reason for the stop. It wasn't because he was black. The reason why I say that, because there was a lot of information being put out. Oh, they just pulled him over because he was black. Driving while black. It's not true. And this is the news media saying this. It's not true. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. So what was the issue? Some people said, oh, they want to bring up his previous criminal history. They always want to do that when it comes to black people. It's true. It's a tactic that they use, and it's disgusting. Oh, look at this photo with him doing this or her doing that. I don't agree with that. I think it's very disrespectful, and it has nothing to do with the actual circumstances, unless it has everything to do with the circumstances. And in this case, they brought up his criminal history. Why? Because it was tied to his warrant for his arrest. It's in play. It matters. It matters. Another thing, what was the warrant for? The warrant was for a gun possession charge. Apparently the officers were investigating a scene. Someone called about a person armed. The officer showed up. He took off and ran from them. The gun was in the front seat where he was sitting at. They knew it was him. They took a warrant out for his arrest. This whole thing about the address, mistaken address, it's not accurate. It's not true. It had nothing to do with anything. His criminal history matters in this situation. Why? When you're dealing with someone, you're dealing with a suspect who is a criminal, this plays on their behavior, plays to their state of mind. What do I mean by that? If I'm a criminal and I live a life of crime and I practice and engage in high-risk behavior, and then I get pulled over for a broken tail light, in my mind, I don't know that's why I'm getting pulled over. In my mind, I'm thinking about the crime that I just committed, the crime that I just got done doing, the crime that I'm on my way to do. In my mind, I'm like, does this officer know what I did yesterday? Did they see me on this camera when I did this in this store? Do you see what I'm saying? But you don't know that I'm telling you what it is. The state of mind of a person matters. This is why teaching people to fear the police is dangerous. Why? Because it interferes with their state of mind. He's sitting there not knowing which crime are they pulling me over for. They run his name. They ask him to get out of the car. He says, why? What's going on? You have a warrant. I need you to get out. He gets out. He complies. The officer starts to handcuff him and says, hey, you have a warrant for your arrest. Then what? He starts getting all kind of fidgety. The officer, so many errors that this officer made, and it's the male officer. Very, very poor handcuffing techniques, very poor positioning. And I'm going to break all that down in the body cam video review that I will do. I'll point out all the errors that the officers on the scene made. In this video, we're just going to break down the explanation of what happened. Officer Porter starts to walk a little closer, but she's still distant. Right when he says, hey, you got a warrant, he tries to put the handcuff. You hear him say something like, hey, stop resisting. Hey, you know. Officer Porter shows up, she gets a little closer. Immediately, boom, he breaks off and tries to jump back into the car. He gets in. And as he's in the car, he's trying to drive off. You have one officer trying to grab him. And then Officer Porter pulls her gun out and says, I'm going to tase you. I'm going to tase you. She leans in and she pulls the trigger and actually shoots him. He drives off. I think he hit a tree or a pole. And he died. The question people are having is, hold up. You mean to tell me this woman, she 20 to 26 years, law enforcement experience, can't tell the difference between her taser and her gun? Is that possible? Is that even possible? You want my honest opinion?